My name is Jody Gunsberg, and I am the Global Head of Commodities and Real Assets at S&P Dow Jones Indices. Joining me today is Mike Davis, Director of Market Development at ICE Futures. In this video, we will discuss the structure of Brent crude pricing and the broader market impacts of Brent, offering a sneak peek of in-depth conversations we will be having with a variety of experts on September 29th at our 10th Annual Commodities Seminar. Thanks for joining us today, Mike.
Thanks for inviting me, Jody.
Mike, first, can you please explain for everyone the process of Brent pricing? How much comes from the North Sea and what percentage of the global oil supply is actually based on Brent?
Sure. Well, Brent pricing is really a composite affair. Brent is a system of different instruments, some purely physical, some derivatives, but it's also a composite of a number of different fields. Like the other major oil benchmarks in the world, although Brent is the largest and the most watched one, Brent is a composite of a number of fields, and we can, sometimes it's called BFOE, which stands for Brent, Forties, Oseberg and Ekofisk, and this is effectively an Anglo-Norwegian composite grade from crudes that are made that are coming out of the North Sea. But Brent is used as a pricing reference on all 5 continents and is often said to be the underlier for about 2/3 of the internationally traded crude oil in the world in a physical sense. Now the different instruments, the most watched one, the most liquid one by a large degree is the ICE Brent future. That recently established an open interest record in April of 2.33 million lots. That's equivalent to 2.33 billion barrels of oil. So this is traded 21 hours a day, 5 days a week, and up to 8-9 years out, which gives you really an instant feedback loop for anything that's going on in the marketplace to tell you what the relative and absolute value of crude oil is for years to come for use across the whole world.
Thank you for that. And given that Brent is such a significant commodity and prices, like you said, about 2/3 of the world's oil, and there's so many things going on in the world today. Some are macro, like the Chinese demand growth slowdown or possibly negative interest rates or the geopolitical risks, anything from OPEC supply to even current events like the US election or Brexit. What kinds of things should people watch out for in terms of Brent pricing? What factors do you see might move the market?
Yeah, well, there's a tremendous number of different factors across macroeconomics, and of course, importantly, also related directly to the fundamentals of crude oil itself, and even within Europe as well, which is where these particular grades come from. If you look through, I mean, the economics of the key producing and consuming countries are obviously massively important. The United States is the world's largest consumer of oil. Probably used to be just about 25%, maybe slightly below that of all oil is consumed by the United States. But the US is also now a major producer of oil once again, almost as large as the Saudis and Russia as well. So the US has gone from being about 5 million barrels a day to up to 9 or 10 million barrels of total liquids again. So all of the factors that impact the economies of the major producers and the consuming economies are highly relevant. And of course, there's been a lot of attention paid to the change in the economic stance within China as it's moved from sort of capital goods formation to more of a domestically focused economy. That's clearly created changes in the amount of oil that China demand was growing by. It's still going to be a large consumer, it appears, but its growth might in future change from the rapid growth pattern that we've seen that is typical of countries as they move through their development cycle. Of course, any of the major news flashpoints in the world can, of course, also impact the price of oil. A lot of the oil production is still centered in the Mideast, and of course the largest reserves long term underground are in the Mideast, and this means there's a lot of attention on macro events in terms of the Arab Spring. Of course, there's also focused attention on that. Other economic factors, people watch very carefully what happens with oil prices around major statistical releases. Non-farm payrolls last week was a major event. It was a relatively strong number. That changes people's assumptions about demand for oil going forward. People in the United States look very carefully at the consumption of products, because crude oil in itself, of course, isn't consumed as crude oil. It's consumed as refined products. So people watch consumer trends very closely for driver miles, the types of vehicles being used. Americans have been using cheapish car loans to buy new sports utility vehicles, and this has had some impact on the consumption of gasoline, which is the most important product in the United States. So you could talk for hours about the number of factors that can impact oil, which is the world's most traded commodity, but that's just a few of them, and I'm sure the analyst community would be very happy to explain all the others that might come into play at any given point. But it's very difficult at the moment to try and get a sense of what's going on, because the production in the United States has been such a dynamic factor, but also a very fast changing factor due to the technological change in US production of what we call light tight oil, or shale as it's sometimes called.
Thank you, Mike, for your valuable insight.
Thanks for the chance to share it, Jody.
To learn more about the performance of Brent crude and the other petroleum commodities tracked by our indices, and for full details of our 10th annual commodities seminar on September 29th, please visit us at www.spdji.com.